לא לפחד, השם אלוקיך הולך איתך, עם ישראל לא מפחד, השם
was like this. 40 Hamas terrorists came after they killed the people in Be'eri and started to run to our village Kfar Maimon. I don't know how Kadosh Baruch Hu asa et ze, how he did it, but basically one or two helicopters went to Be'eri and they moved above Kfar Maimon, and they didn't know about the terrorists that coming from Kfar Maimon, from the Be'eri to Kfar Maimon. The terrorists saw these helicopters that coming to Be'eri, and one of them took his RPG, one of his missiles, and he shot on the helicopter. This helicopter got hit by the missile, and he landed very quickly on the ground. All the soldiers went out of this helicopter, and they ran out of the helicopter before the helicopter exploded. All the soldiers, the Israeli soldiers, got saved. But what been happening after they went from the helicopter was the miracle, because now they faced this 40 terrorists that came from Be'eri to Kfar Maimon, and in the middle of this place between Be'eri and Kfar Maimon started a huge fight. Baruch Hashem, all of our soldiers were saved, and they killed this whole 40 terrorists of the Hamas. This luck that we had in Kfar Maimon was the reason that Kfar Maimon has been saved.
Hello from Yerushalayim. So today was a really exhausting, overwhelming day. Couple of huge takeaways from today. Number one, the Achdus in this country is glaring. Everybody just seems to be united here in this country, and that's the first thing that I noticed when I got off the plane, with the big duffel bags that we all had and the people just greeting us and thanking us and the soldiers hugging us. So it was a really beautiful thing. And the other thing really was an emotional thing for, I believe, for all of us, meeting people and hearing from people who were, one person, a Rabbi Herzl from Sderot, who was wounded seriously in the attack, and his story. And we're here, I think, to give chizuk for them, but it seems like they're giving chizuk to us. So that's really the takeaway from today, and tomorrow's going to be a really interesting day.
I think the most important thing so far I saw was visiting the people here who were affected by this tragedy. The fact that we're here as Americans, Kol Yisrael Arevim Zelazeh, he told me that the fact that you American Jews came, it makes that pain go away. They're so happy we're here. We have to continue having Achdus Am Yisrael Chai. Thank you. Good evening, Beth Shalom family. It's about midnight here in Yerushalayim. I've been on the ground only for about 12 hours and already physically and emotionally exhausted from what we've already experienced. Just want to share a few brief highlights. My father picked me up from the airport, and on our drive from Ben Gurion to Yerushalayim. So I said, now we're here, so what exactly is the protocol if we hear a siren? So he said, it's been like 2 weeks we haven't had any sirens in Yerushalayim. Now, on my phone, I have the app from Jerusalem Post, or many other different apps that you can have, that every time a siren goes off anywhere in Eretz Yisrael, I get a notification that there's a siren going off in the south or in the north, wherever it may be. And it's a really nice thing for those of us living very far away that it sort of makes it real. But on the theme of making it real, not 5 minutes went by after walking into my parents' apartment when the siren went off. Now, my sister, who lives in Efrat, was already there, had come to see me. On her phone, she doesn't have just an app that has a little notification when a siren goes off. But if a siren goes off in the Efrat area where she lives, her actual phone becomes a siren. So in the middle of the apartment, the siren blares from her phone. And then you can hear it from outside. So we all run to the ma'amad in one of the closets. A larger closet is the designated ma'amad. And you see when it's in real time, my sister, my brother-in-law, everyone is calling their kids. So from the mamad, while the sirens are still going off, everyone is just the panic of until you touch base with everybody and you make sure that everyone is. And that was just simply one here in Yerushalayim, which is generally, it doesn't happen all that often, but you get the sense of what it's like. Just to get a notification, I get them all day long. But this is why they've evacuated 125,000 Jews from the south and from the north, because you can't live like that. So I had a chance to visit with my son, learning in Shalavim, and I went straight from the yeshiva to the hotel where the group was meeting. And as I walked into the hotel, I ran into an old friend of mine. We were actually in yeshiva together many years ago, and I haven't seen him in a while. I said, Rabbi Yamin, how you doing? Do you have anybody here? He asked me this. I said, yeah, I just came from visiting my son in Shalavim. He said, I just came from Tal HaShomer. I just came from visiting my son. He had actually just made Aliyah. He was in the IDF and had taken 2 bullets on the first day on October 7th. He was stationed in the Gaza envelope and was injured in that one of the army bases. 9 out of the 10 soldiers that were there were injured. They were able to be evacuated, which is in itself a miracle given all that we know now, and is, thank God, recovering. And this was his first time. He wasn't able to come until now for various reasons. He said his son wasn't ready for him. I could just imagine what that was like. And he described to me, we had a hard time on Simchas Torah because the word was trickling in. Shabbos morning, Shmini Atzeres, we begin to hear. By the time Simchas Torah came that night, and we had to figure out, what are we going to do? How are we going to manage? And he started telling me what it was like for him in his shul. He knew he had a son in Gaza, in the envelope right outside of Gaza. They were getting the same words that we were getting, and he had no way to be in contact with his son. And it just... So we had this brief program tonight. It was really just an introduction, but it was a powerful introduction because besides for all the protocols that we were instructed on, we had 4 brief talks from people from Sderot. One was impromptu. We were in the middle of dinner, and an older gentleman from Sderot asked one of the rabbis, who are all these people? The hotel that we were in is filled with, I don't like to use the word refugees, but they're refugees in their own countries, filled with evacuees from Sderot in the south. So one of these older gentlemen from Sderot is like, who are all these rabbis walking around? So someone said, it's the OU, they came here. He said, I have to talk to them. So not part of our schedule in Hebrew, this gentleman walked in and he described that he's actually the Rav of a small shul in Sderot. And he said, I have to tell you my story of Simchas Torah morning, how he went to shul very early in the morning at 6:30 to get everything ready for the kids with the flags and the games and the candy. And he's right next to the police station, and he heard, all this noise and commotion, and he sticks his head out of the shul, and sure enough, there's a firefight between police and a whole crew of terrorists. And he turns to go back. He doesn't have a weapon. He doesn't have anything to go back into the shul. And a terrorist sniper who had already positioned himself on one of the local buildings, shot him. He said through the back as he turned from the back, and it came out from near his rib. And he went through all the different organs which it actually pierced. And I guess the adrenaline, he made his way. He's telling us this is 3 weeks from the day after being shot. He tells us the story how he made his way to the shul, called an ambulance, and they were like, we're coming, but of course nobody came for an hour, because nobody at the time really understood what was going on. And eventually someone from shul, a member, came. It was like Simchas Torah morning, and nobody knew what was going on, and saw the Rav was shot and bleeding, and he said he's had trouble breathing at this point. And the fellow said to him, do you have your car here? And the Rav said, yeah, I never drive, but I came Erev Shabbos because it's Simchas Torah. I had all of these bakbukim of soda and boxes of candy. My car is here and the keys are in the glove compartment. So he dragged him out, and he told the whole story how they actually made it out of Sderot. And surgery and listening, there he was. He's in the hotel with us 3 weeks later to tell us his story. From there, we went to another Ramada hotel, which is housing 1,600 evacuees from the south. They've taken over the entire hotel. There are piles of food, of clothing. They brought in, as we were there on the lower floor, volunteer barbers who were there giving haircuts. They brought in washer dryers for them to do laundry. It's just a scene. And as much as sometimes we think about going away to a hotel as this big vacation, it's not a vacation. You have these mostly young women whose husbands have been called up. Some have experienced horrific traumas and loss. Everyone in the South has. And they're in this little hotel room with 3 kids, by themselves. It's a horrible scene. And we heard 3 presentations from survivors from Sde Road. I just want to share 2 snippets from them about the decisions. I just want to highlight as real can be the decisions that had to be made on October 7th. So the first fellow who spoke to us, Guy, told us the story again, how like nobody knew. So they heard commotion. They heard there were sirens going off because remember the terrorist attack began with a barrage of rockets. And so he described as the morning played itself out, being locked up in his home he had 2 older sons, 20 and 18, and 2 younger twins, aged 13, and his wife, and they have no weapons in the house. And, just pretending like nobody's home, avoiding the whole scene. He told the whole story, which maybe I'll tell when I get back over Shabbos. The one point I just want to focus on is they made it the whole day, and he kept like, nobody was coming. There was no army, there was no police. They were literally on their own. Everybody was so overwhelmed and nobody knew what was going on. So eventually they decided they were going to make a run for it and try to drive out and drive to freedom. It was actually, they spent the entire day and night like on guard, like somebody was awake the whole night as people were like just trying to like keep the door locked and barricaded in. He described literally they positioned themselves. There was like one door that they felt was the most vulnerable, and one of his 20-year-old is a scuba diver, had a harpoon, and he was like armed with his harpoon, and he and his other sons took the biggest kitchen knives that they had, and he gave knives to their 13-year-old twins, who said like, Abba, and he said, you just need it, and this is what we're going to do. And they literally just stood at their door. And then the next morning at like 6 o'clock in the morning, they said, okay, now it's time, we have to try to get out of here. And they had 2 cars, and the eldest son said, Abba, we have to split up. You and Ima go in separate cars. Me and the older brother, the young men, we're going to go, and then take the 2 twins, the 13-year-olds, and split them up. This way, if one of us doesn't make it, there should at least be a provider and a strong young man, and then one of the children. That's what we have to do to make sure that at least somebody survives. And you're listening like we're going to read about Yaakov Avinu doing that, and you're reading about like literally like that was the way a 20-year-old thought in the moment as they were driving out. Which right after that we heard another story, which I'll just say very briefly, who literally had a similar story of eventually making it through the original round and then driving out, and the barrages of rockets were constant. And as he and a bunch of other families were driving out, when the sirens go off and the rockets are falling, so all the other families like are stopping as you're supposed to do. And you get out of your car and you go a few feet away from your car and you lie down on the ground. And they're like motioning him to stop. And he says, I have to make a decision. Am I going to like take the risk of being hit by the rockets which are falling all around us? Or do I want to be around these terrorists which are still roaming around and not be in my car? And we're just going to keep driving. We're just going to keep driving, and whatever comes. And again, just saying about making it real and the trauma that has been experienced. But this was just our first 2 hours. Like we started at 8, we went to like 10:30, just hearing these stories. And much more to come tomorrow. So just wanted to bring everybody along on this amazing trip of seeing this country come together, and looking forward to finding out tomorrow again what we can do as a community. Really, the OU has stressed over and over again, the goal is to really bring this back to us, to partner with different communities that have been evacuated and displaced, and really be able to roll up our sleeves from afar and be a big part of the solution and a big help to all of those living here. Okay, looking forward to sharing some more tomorrow.